both Vladimir Putin and Joe Biden and his administration are targeting journalists, American journalists. In Russia, an American Wall Street Journal reporter, Evan Gershkovich, was arrested in Russia about 800 miles east of Moscow, accused of espionage. He's been ordered to be held in custody, pretrial custody, until at least May 29th. So a long time just there. And he could face up to 20 years in prison if convicted. Now, you contrast that move by Vladimir Putin, a dictator, with the move by President Biden's IRS to show up at Matt Taibbi's door when he is before the weaponization of the government committee that Jim Jordan chairs, and he's testifying about the Twitter files, and the IRS shows up at his house. And they say, you know what, actually, since you weren't here, we'll show up on Monday. That is intimidation and targeting of journalists.
He goes up because he was part of the Twitter files with Barry Weiss and with Schellenberger. That day, the IRS shows up at his door, unrelated.
And let's remember what they were exposing in those Twitter files was how members of Congress like Adam Schiff were going to Twitter and asking him to ban people.
Ban people, remove content from individuals, for people that were making jokes.
We're supposed to be that beacon of freedom to say, this is a country we don't do that. And yet, when they arrest one of our journalists in Russia and accuse him of espionage, it's bogus. They're going to point to what we're doing. They're going to say, well, you send your federal agents to the doors of journalists, too.
Yeah, what's the difference?
So what's the difference? We have a problem with an American journalist. You have a problem with your own journalists who are Americans, too. And we have the Constitution here that they don't have.
You have journalists who are just trying to do their job, who don't want to reveal their sources. You also had that during the Matt Taibbi thing where they were trying to push him to reveal his sources and not respecting that First Amendment right to not have to do that.
While they're condemning Russia, rightfully so, by the way. I'm not saying that's, again, they shouldn't be doing that. But in Karine Jean-Pierre's written statement, she says, we condemn the Russian government's continued targeting and repression of journalists and freedom of the press. While the Biden administration is you could say, the Biden administration continues to target and repress journalists and freedom in the United States. Certainly freedom of the press. Listen to Congressman Jim Jordan.
I think the context is important. Remember, the day before Mr. Taibbi testifies, we all learned that the FTC sent a letter to Twitter asking Twitter, who are the journalists you're talking to, named Mr. Taibbi personally. The very next day he testifies, and Democrat members of the committee ask him, who are your sources? Give us your sources. A direct attack on the First Amendment. And while they're asking those questions, the IRS is at his door. And think about what it meant to him personally, because they leave a note and they said, don't worry, we'll get back with you on Monday. Holy cow. I mean, this is the IRS. We all fear this agency, and they leave a note saying, we'll get back with you on Monday. What that means for a normal person who has to go through that.
I use this as a point to prove who we are versus who they are. We are defenders of the ideals of our country. They are defenders of their political views. We defend Matt Taibbi just as much as we would defend the Tea Party.
Right.
They don't.